Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
This cool Tuesday morning,
Oh,
Marlene.
yes.
Did you wake up to that breeze as I did?
It is a beautiful morning. I will say this much though, where is the sun?
Where is the sun?
I feel like I'm driving at nighttime.
You know, it's interesting how the time changes as the year goes by and as the year begins and stuff like that, because I could clearly remember going later into last year where the sun set early and you wake up. I've done shows many mornings and you wake up at 5:30, 5, and the sun is peaking its head, and now, 6 o'clock this morning and it was still dark outside?
Not today. The sun said, you know, it's nice and cool. It's going to sleep in for today, but you're not allowed to because it is Tuesday. It's a work day. And of course, we are starting off the new year right. So, of course, we hope to engage you in some great conversations and get you up to date with what's happening. And speaking of which, we know there's a developing story that we reported on last night.
Yeah, and that's the double homicide that took place in a Maskell village last night, or off the Maskell Road. What we know so far is that these two young men, a 36-year-old and a 21-year-old, that they were inside their house when they were approached by two gunmen. We're being told that these men entered the home and, of course, targeted these two, the 36-year-old and 21-year-old males, causing fatal injuries to their bodies. And so that's what we know so far. We are not quite certain on a motive at this time. However, our reporter, Dwayne Moody, he was live on the scene last night reporting it while the scenes of crime personnel were processing the scene. And so I believe we'll be heading back out there today. We'll be trying to speak to family members, see if we get some witnesses, trying to speak to police to understand exactly what transpired there. It's definitely not a positive note to start the year in terms of these types of crimes and incidences. We didn't, I believe this is the first report of a murder, of homicide in 2022, and to start it off with a double homicide, well, I know police will say that it's not the right foot for us to start on, especially at such an early stage in the year, and so that's something we're following.
No, definitely. You wouldn't want to imagine families starting off their year in this way with such a brazen attack on their loved ones. Yeah, and of course, you know, in a quiet village like Maskell, it's always, you know, sometimes I think when I hear stories of these types of incidents taking place in more rural settings, it's so quiet. You know, it's like the entire piece of the village would be disturbed, and you'd see, I'm sure most of the villagers came out to see what was taking place, but of course, we hope to be able to find out more to understand why this took place, and we'll get that update probably from police today.
You do think about that piece in these types of communities, indeed. And when I look at these types of incidences, I reflect on the sense of security that the victims may have felt in probably leaving their doors open in the village. It just that sense of security. And like you rightfully said, now you'll have community members, and perhaps that's another angle we could look at more, is how does these incidents in these peaceful village affect the community and the peace that they feel like? Do they now feel less at peace Do they now feel that they have to lock up early? Do they now feel as if they need more security and police in their community? So this has a rippling effect for sure. And so today we will be looking into that. The second thing perhaps that we could talk about this morning is just a follow-up from a conversation from yesterday that I know you and Isani were having with as it relates to the sugar industry. Just to say that finally the sugar crop began yesterday.
Again.
Fingers crossed again. This is perhaps the third attempt for this season that they've made, but this time it seems promising, it seems hopeful, it seems as if both the mill and farmers, they've reached common ground on at least one issue, which is the interim agreement. Now, what I believe was the driving force behind reaching this interim agreement or this compromise, well, apart from the protest, is the fact that farmers need to get their sugar canes off the field and into the mill. I was speaking to one truck driver slash farmer yesterday who basically said, explained to me that he has some 12,700 tons of sugar cane to deliver over the period of the milling period, the sugar crop, which is 192 days. And at the rate at which it is going, in terms of the mill only operating at 50% capacity, he will be allowed to deliver 66 tons a day. And this is a lot of maths, but he will be able to deliver 66 tons a day during in intervals, so every other day, while the mill operates at 50% capacity. When the mill becomes fully operational, then he'll be able to deliver that 66 tons every single day. The issue that he's facing now is that because of the 2 weeks delay that we saw, and because he's now delivering every other day, that's 66 tons, when the mill becomes fully operational, with the amount of days that are left, that will be left in the sugar crop season, he will have to deliver 70 tons a day, every single day, for him to meet that 12,700 tons quota by the end of the sugar crop season. But he's only allotted 66 tons per day. And so here comes the issue where that 2 weeks delay, if that would not have been the case, he may have been able to meet that 12,700. And so there will come a point when either his quota will have to increase, his daily quota will have to increase in terms of what he delivers to the mill, or those tons of sugarcane excess would have to be left in the field. And so that's an interesting perspective I got from one of the farmers slash truck drivers yesterday, and I would imagine that many other farmers are faced with the same predicament at this time, and so that presents another challenge for them.
I appreciate that breakdown. I think that very often we look at what has been happening in the delay with the start of the crop, and we look at the issue between the one association and the millers, and we're seeing it as kind of a fight for rights moment. And people see both sides, and it still is can be divisive. But when you think of the implications on farmers, and let's be honest, one of the things that the sugar industry has faced as well is one of the challenges that we see with climate change. The weather patterns are a lot less predictable. And so, where the sugar crop used to align with the best time to be able to harvest the mill, there's still some unpredictability built in as well. And so, when there's a specific time designated, it is the optimal time for them to be able to mill and process and then be able to get their shipments out by the end of the year. So putting it into context like that, you already know, you've already worked your fields, you've harvested. Some people had their crop in the trucks already, sitting there for 2 weeks, which also poses a challenge when you talk about cane quality. So there's so many, it's a ripple effect. One decision that couldn't be made, or one agreement that they couldn't come to, had delayed it for 2 weeks, and there will be subsequent issues that come as a result of that.
Interestingly, when it comes to cane quality, one of the things we found out yesterday is that there's a grading system. I don't know the specifics of the grading system other than to say that there's numbers involved. And the commercial agreement stipulates that the grade is supposed to be 81. Whatever that means, is that there's a grading system, and 81 is where it's supposed to be in terms of when they grade it.
Yeah.
Yesterday, those sugarcane that were sitting outside for the past 2 weeks, when those are graded, surprisingly, the grade was above that 81. The quality was at 86. And so that was exciting news for those farmers that were out there as well, because that was we actually saw the sigh of relief that they had when they found out that their sugar was still in good quality, their cane was still in good quality and good shape. And so that was some good news there. But it's something we'll keep following, because as we've said, it's not over.
Well, no, definitely not. And I think that's what Isani and I were talking about yesterday. It's not a solution. It's kind of like, let's deal with this later while we try to get through the crop. And so I think deciding when that later is going to be is really what has been resolved. But without a doubt, as we have learned leading up to the end of the year, there are two very different stands being taken by the millers and by BSCFA as to what the new agreement should be. Who will bend, how they'll reach that compromise. That's what's yet to come when they do sit to negotiate this agreement.
Yeah, and from that, now moving to perhaps what is one of the most pressing national issues that we saw in the news last night, and it's of course the COVID-19 numbers, and the fact that yesterday we saw a total of 617 newly confirmed cases. Of course, this is from within the time span of the weekend. Nonetheless, I'm not sure if this is a record. I haven't looked over the numbers. It's not. But nonetheless, these are concerning numbers. It's really a sour way to start the new year. We're celebrating the fact that we're in a new year, that we've made it to this year, but at the same time now we have to gear up for what's ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say though is I'm glad to see that health officials are not waiting for official confirmation to know that Omicron is in the country. You know, we visited the lab. I know the news team visited the lab, and they are processing the test for the gene sequencing to officially say that the variant is here. But in the meantime, all indicators are showing that
it's here.
We're seeing what is happening all across the world, which is a rise in the number of cases, slightly different symptoms being exhibited, and a difference in terms of how it's affecting individuals' health. What I saw yesterday with the numbers, you know, honestly, I thought it'd be more.
Really?
But I would say this much, and I know you had a personal experience where you got tested last week. One of the things we keep on getting reports are these really long lines to get tested. And I mean, you know more than I do, because you went through the one at Civic. To the point where people are arriving at the testing stations and, you know, they're being told, well, we already tested our quota for today. So the question is now how much. I know Dr. Bear said last week that they're going to be preparing for the increase of testing demand, but has that already started? Because that testing demand is now in effect. And if you see the lines at the sites, if you see how long people are waiting, I always see those lines and I'm thinking, with something so transmissible that they say, you know, I wonder if you won't get it while standing in line.
What's discouraging about the lines is the fact that you have to stand 6 feet apart. So you already have a long line, and that line stretches even longer. So it's a mental thing, and I wonder if that if when people come in to get tested and they see that long line, if that discourages them as well. But apart from that, there are long lines.
Yeah.
In fact, like at the Civic Center, I could tell you when I went to get tested on Friday, I saw that line and I was discouraged. I went to the medical personnel there, and I asked him, because he was there since earlier today, how long does it take for you guys to get through this line? I have stuff to do. Considering I'm negative, I have stuff to do. And he was like, oh, it won't take long, about 15 minutes. We spent about 45 minutes in the line before I finally got tested. At about 11 or so, I did see that they began to turn people back. And I would imagine it's perhaps because they met their quota. Also, there was obviously a backlog in terms of getting people their results. So what you had now, you had a line of people waiting to get tested, and then you had a gathering of people waiting for their results. So you had that line, and then you had this group of people over here just waiting for their results. And that took about 25 to 30 minutes for you to get your results. And so it's definitely a massive push, a movement in terms of people trying to get tested. It's a good thing.
Yes.
But at the same time, now they have to work out those chinks.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I do think it's a positive sign that people want to get tested and to know whether or not they have COVID. I know that last week the Ministry of Health opened additional free testing sites in other parts of the country. But as we continue to see these increases, clearly they'll have to consider how they'll be able to accommodate all these persons coming to test at once. And, you know, in all fairness to the medical professionals who are out there, you know, they're being as efficient as they can be. It is a process. You do have to swab. You have to get the right sample to be able to get the right result. And so, I imagine that as we continue to see more cases, you'll continue to see more people needing to be tested. And if it's reaching a point where people are being turned away because I don't know if they finished their test or quota or just, you know, too many people gathering in one place, whatever the reasons are, not every person will take that extra step to go and find another place to get tested. And then you just look at what could potentially come from that if they are positive. Yeah,
and so I think it's something worth looking into. It's something worth speaking to health personnel about in terms of how they're preparing for this new wave of persons seeking to get tested. So that's something else we'll look into today.
And if we look at the numbers, you know, the two districts with the highest new cases, they were Cayo and Belize District. And Belize City clearly having the higher numbers in addition to Belmopan from Cayo. So, you know, I would assume that this would probably be partially due to gatherings around Christmas. And we're yet to see what the gatherings from New Year's is going to bring. We have to buckle down and realize that there are going to be some challenging times ahead in looking at a large number of people having COVID all at once.
And it's a rippling effect again. I keep saying it, but now we look at the fact that schools are set to reopen on January 10th. That's next week.
Yeah.
That's next week. I know across the USA, I was listening to reports across the US, there are school districts that are postponing. Once again, they're reopening. I don't know what approach our ministry will take. That's something else to look into. But I do know already that there are a couple schools that are saying, let's remain online for the first 2 weeks and let's see what will happen there. So that's something else we have to look out for in terms of.
It's tough, and I can imagine how tough it is for parents because parents want their children back at school, and the children want to be back at school. But as we head into what is evidently going to be another wave for us, it's making that decision. I know we interviewed CEO Diane Mejia last week, and one of the interesting things that I know she explained was that the consideration moving into reopening schools does include the fact that there may be cases that pop up. But what they hope would happen within schools is that, you know, if you happen to identify a case or a cluster, that it's not the entire school that gets shut down, that you work on a case-by-case basis. So, you do the testing of close contacts within the classroom. Maybe that class goes online for that period of time, and then the rest of the school keeps functioning. And that's, if schools can come up with that system that works best for them, and they have enough space that it's not that classrooms are right next to each other, then it can work. It can happen that they do what the rest of the country and the rest of the world is doing. Small departments or small businesses, they have to do this, and then they readjust and keep moving forward.
Needless to say, Marlene, it's been 2 years, and we're going into the third year of COVID-19, and it's a sobering thought to think that we may go through 2022 yet again with COVID-19 on our sides, pretty much dictating our every move.
I hope not. Well, I have been saying since last year that I feel like 2022, me personally, I feel like 2022 will be the year that the pandemic comes to an end. I feel that way. This is just me hoping. But I also think that it doesn't mean that it's going to end. It may just become something that we're able to manage effectively. Interestingly, the World Health Organization Director General has expressed the same thoughts, that they feel that 2022 will be the year that we get the pandemic under control.
Wouldn't that be a relief for
you got to be optimistic with putting it out into the universe, right?
Indeed.
I don't think there's any return to normal. I think we'll just have a new way of living, and we'll keep on going with it. That's how I see it. And at this point, we've adjusted so much that a little bit more change in our lives, we should be fine. I hope so. All right, but we got to get moving into our show for today. And we're going to shift gears to our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. When we focus on bringing purpose to our speech, we bring healing and meaning to our relationships, our communities, and the world. With so many words coming at us 24 hours a day through social media and the non-stop news cycle, it can feel like our words have lost their meaning altogether. Somehow, we've almost become unconscious to the profound effect words have, the power to hurt and destroy and repair and heal. Speaking with purpose, not impulse, means entering deeply into the root causes and motivations that cause us to wield our words in impulsive, hurtful, and even destructive ways. So many of us do our best to speak meaningfully to others, but we fail to show this kindness and intentionality to ourselves, instead speaking critical and reactive words. Speaking with purpose means diving into our beings, locating the harsh words that reside there, and approaching them with a spirit of curiosity and compassion. It is about speaking with a desire to bring meaning to our speech and to serve others with our words. We need to start by looking deeply into our own hearts and soul. Tune into our words and our intentions, listen, and notice before speaking.
I like this. This could be a New Year's resolution for many of us. I said in conversation on New Year's Eve, I was having a conversation about what is one thing that you resolve to do during the New Year's, and one of them for me was moving away from impulsive responses or impulsive reactions to certain things. And that includes my words and what I say and how I say it, and being more thoughtful about it. Not only my word to others, but my words to myself. And so this brings some sort of reminder to me about how I should approach speaking to others and to myself with a bit more thoughtfulness and kindness, processing what I'm thinking, processing what I'm feeling, and then speaking words with purpose.
Oh, wow. Definitely. Yeah. So that means that the eye-opener for this morning was specifically geared for you.
That was for me,
Maybe
so thank you.
We selected it on purpose to help you, achieve those resolutions.
Indeed.
No, I think, it's, I love that you said that, though, because I think that it's not only there's a momentary pause sometimes that if we give ourselves, and it's not easy to do, it takes a great amount of self-control.
It does.
That if you give yourself a moment to pause, to be able to process what it is that you want to say, but not only that, to hear what was actually said.
Yeah.
How many times are you in situations that you're not listening
Yeah.
to hear people? You're listening and you're starting to formulate your response. You blocked out everything else. And we do it, everyone. We
Yeah.
do it, you know, with family, friends, spouses, co-workers. It just happens. We feel that we have to have that instant response.
Yeah.
And, you know, just that moment can make a big difference.
Indeed.
But, man, you got to work on it.
Indeed. You know, sometimes people are not upset with you when they speak certain things. You know, there's an underlying
Yeah.
issue, and if you listen keenly, and I'm guilty of it, if you listen keenly, you may just find out that you could ask a question instead, and that could be a purposeful speech, asking a question that perhaps leads to further revelation of what's really happening. But there you have it, your eye-opener for this morning, something I believe most of us can work on for 2022.
Absolutely. All right, and from the eye-opener to a weather update. And so we're going to find out what we can expect for this morning, or general situation is for a northerly airflow that is prevailing. There are cloudy skies today with few sunny breaks. Tonight's skies will be partly cloudy. A few showers or light rain will develop mainly along coastal areas and offshore during the daytime, and then more so along northern and southern coastal areas tonight. Elsewhere, shower activity will be isolated. Our winds are moving from the north to northwest at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state is choppy. Our temperatures for today are going to be 82 along the coast, 82 inland, and 68 in the hills. While for tonight, oh, there we go.
There you go.
We got Catherine coming in to deliver
awesome.
those lows. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene. Good morning.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
I am doing okay, Marlene. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to give thanks.
That's right.
It's another bright new day.
It's a beautiful day, and I was trying to give the forecast, but you are the professional here, so you go ahead and tell us, what are we expecting for today?
Yes. Marlene, as you know, yesterday evening into night, a cold front crossed the country, but it was a rather a weak one, not as strong as the one just before Christmas. So from that, we're just getting some mild temperatures across the country. And what we're going for in our forecast now is for cloudy skies today with a few sunny breaks, and we expect the high temperatures to reach 82 along the coast and over inland areas to 68 in the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy to cloudy, and we expect the temperatures to drop to 70 along the coast, to 67 inland and 62 in the higher elevations. Yeah. We expect a few light showers that will to continue to develop offshore. As if you look at our radar, we see most of the showers or light rains is offshore the country. We expect that to continue during the daytime. And then tonight, we expect a little more showers to develop along northern and southern coastal areas. Elsewhere, over the rest of the country, the shower activity will be isolated. The winds will be coming from the north to northwest at 5 to 15 knots, and we expect choppy seas. And the outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for partly cloudy skies with only isolated showers.
All right. But, of course, we love the weather this morning. Is it going to continue like this for the rest of the week?
No. It will warm up. Tomorrow, because we under this northwesterly flow, we expect that to prevail through to Wednesday, and after that the winds will veer more to the northeast and then east, so we go back into the warm thing. So by Thursday, conditions will start to warm up back again.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll enjoy it for now.
Okay. Thank you.
You have a great day.
Have a good day and stay safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. There you have it. That's our weather update for today. So do enjoy the cooler temperatures. There may be a shower here or there, but if you like the lower temperatures, you just have to accept that as well. But with that, though, we got to get moving into our show. And we are starting off this morning with an update on how things are going in tourism. Of course, we know we are in the middle of peak season, and we're going to get an update from the Belize Tourism Industry Association and the Belize Hotel Association about how things have been going for them and what's been the impact of this latest spike in COVID cases.
Yeah, and then in our second conversation, we have a really feel-good, positive story. We have a miracle story, in fact, shared by a mom whose son received some treatment through the World Pediatric Project Belize, and so that will be our second conversation.
Yeah, we love celebrating with people when they're able to overcome those
Of course.
obstacles, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And New Year.
New me.
Well, yeah, better you.
Better
It doesn't
you.
have to be completely new, but we
Indeed.
do want you to start your new year, right? And so we have K1 Samuels coming in.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to talk to us about how to set these fitness goals. And anybody who's seen K1 on the show knows that he's very serious about
Yeah.
getting fit. So
Yeah.
he's going to give us some practical tips. Are you going to exercise with him today?
I'll take off my coat and I'll work on something.
All right, so he's going to give us some practical tips on how to get those fitness goals set for the new year.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be closing off with today. But we got to take a break, and we'll be back in a few.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link, she taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
All right, and welcome back. we have with us for our first conversation this morning, which is on tourism industry's performance amidst the second year of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have joining us via Zoom, President of the Belize Tourism Industry Association, Stuart Crone, as well as Director of the Belize Hotel Association, Ted Tejada. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both doing?
Morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul.
Good morning. So we want to jump right into the conversation. Let's start by looking at perhaps what is, I know we're talking about the second year of COVID-19, but perhaps what is the most pressing and relevant issue as it relates to COVID-19, and it's the Omicron variant and how that is perhaps potentially threatening the 2022 tourism season. What are some of the immediate concern that arises out of the spread and detection of this variant? Perhaps we start with Mr. Crone.
I think it breaks down to probably three different parts on the Omicron. The first is the spread of the increased spread of the virus is causing potential visitors or even visitors who've made reservations to think twice and either hold off making reservations or postponing the reservations that they've already made. So that's one facet of it, is lowering the immediate arrival numbers, which up till now have been pretty good. The second thing is visitors who reach Belize. We have to expect that an increasing number are going to actually contract COVID in Belize. Whether they actually get it in Belize or they got it before they got on their airplane is immaterial, but we're going to have to deal with that medical and business issue of what to do with visitors who come down with COVID. And the third thing is, which is becoming increasingly important, as Omicron combined with Delta continue to increasingly affect our own population, more and more of our staff in the industry at all levels are going to come down with the virus. And this is despite whatever we may do at our properties. We could have 100% vaccination. We can have extremely good cleanliness practices. The problem is staff are going to come home off days off, and they are going to test positive when they come back to work. So those three things are really the big question marks for the future.
Yeah.
As it pertains to staff, Mr. Tejeda, you can have all the measures in place at your different properties. However, when, like Mr. Crone rightfully said, when your staff members go home, then they're exposed and you can't really protect them in that sense. Are you seeing an uptick in terms of the number of staff members being tested positive?
Morning, Paul, and Happy New Year's to you and Marlene.
Thank you.
It's nice to be back. Definitely, we have started to see that as of actually Monday of this week. We know that the holidays were here, and many of our staff members got together in group settings. I mean, even family members. But we see that the Omicron is a virus that is a lot more contagious than the Delta or the COVID-19 itself. And so we are starting to see, and we've heard from several of our hotels that yes, hotel staff are coming positive. Actually, I spoke to about 10 hotels yesterday who reported that within yesterday, they were able to detect one or two. And what we are doing as hotels are now starting to test their staff randomly, which is being recommended. Even if they have zero signs, we're asking hotels to randomly check their employees so that we can start to detect them. Remember that many of the hotels have a cafeteria where our staff are being given breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And so they eat in a community, and if you have one employee that is positive, you have the possibility of contaminating the entire hotel. But yes, hotels had protocols from 2 years ago, and we had been practicing. And in terms of guests themselves, we feel very comfortable that we are able to deal with the protocols that we have, being able to isolate and take care of our guests. It is more having our employees show to the hotel with the virus that it will start to cripple in terms of the service that we provide. Yeah. We were going back, the high season is here. This month, in December, we don't have the final numbers, but we understand we had 70% of the overall tourists that we have in 2019, which was very, very good for all the hotels. Yeah. With that being said, if we don't have the employees to cater for them, yeah, that is where the problem begins to arise.
Yeah. Yeah. This is turning out to be a very critical issue, I think, for businesses in general. How do you respond when you have an identified case or a cluster within your institution? You know, I think you rightly mentioned that people go home and whether knowingly or unknowingly contract the virus and come back to the workplace. Have you seen hotels have to close as a result of having too many cases? One clear example we can use is all the travel cancellations that took place over Christmas weekend, primarily because staff was either testing positive for the airlines or had been close contacts. Are we starting to see those effects within the industry?
Marlene, at this moment, we haven't seen any. I heard of a hotel that had quite a bit of cases yesterday, not within the employees, but within the guests. What we're seeing is that hotels are testing within the community in the guest. Let's say I had a hotel that said they had 20 cases yesterday within the guest, but it's one person within a family. These are the individuals that are testing because they are supposed to leave the country tomorrow. So once they have tested positive, they can no longer leave. So this hotel has 20 guests that can no longer leave. Those are 20 rooms that guests have to stay, minimum 5 days. In this particular case, the hotel had already sold those rooms to new guests coming in. And now we have a problem where those rooms are no longer going to be vacant because you have individuals can no longer leave the country. And so it's also posing the problem of having to find hotels within their neighborhood in order to put new guests arriving into the country. So I don't think we have had hotels closing down as yet, but we are concerned that there will be more cases within our staff within this or the next week, and that will be posing a problem to us going forward.
This is a problem very reminiscent of 2020. And I remember the conversations. In fact, I think, Stuart, you were the one who had brought it up about who pays the bill. You know, if I've booked 5 days and then I test positive and I have to stay 7 days or 10 days, who pays that bill and where does a person stay? While there were discussions we had back in 2020, has there been any plan put in place as to how you do respond?
Well, a couple things, Marlene. Each hotel is dealing with this problem in its own way. Yeah. I know what we have done, and I know a number of hotels have done, is once a guest tests positive and they go beyond what their planned stay was, we reduce the rate for their room by 50%. So we give them a 50% discount. And that seems to go over well. Ironically, a problem Ted alluded to was you've got new people coming in, so you can't, you don't have a place to put these people. The fact that we've had, and most hotels have had, a significant number of cancellations is because of the cancellations, you now have a little more leeway to be able to juggle your room occupancy to allow for those people. Hopefully they don't go beyond 4 or 5 days to stay there. And the other thing is, I think Ministry of Tourism and BTB are looking seriously about the imposition of either a mandatory or a voluntary, but most likely a mandatory health and travel insurance policy that visitors would have to purchase before coming to Belize. It's a bit of a controversial move, but I think in the long run, particularly with what we are experiencing now, it might be a very good thing to implement. That way, you eliminate the problem of guests bearing the financial burden. You eliminate the problem of hotels bearing the financial burden. It builds the confidence of people from abroad who are kind of on the fence about coming to Belize. If they know they automatically have health and travel insurance, they're going to have a much more relaxed vacation. So when that time comes, that moment of drama the day before you're scheduled to leave and you take that test, it can be quite disconcerting for visitors when they take that test to see if they're going to be positive or negative. And if they know that their expenses are all covered by a very inexpensive insurance policy, it makes their travel experience a whole lot better.
Out of curiosity, what's the response when tourists do test positive? Because they have to present a negative test to come into the country. So is the assumption is that they contracted it locally?
That's not always the assumption. I mean, if our average stay is about 4.5 days, that window is such that they could have contracted it several days before they even got on their airplane, because the test that they took 24 hours previously would not necessarily pick up the presence of the virus. So they could think what they want, but it's more likely, I think, that they would have picked up the virus prior to their flight or even on the airplane.
Yeah, because
But in the end, it's really immaterial. It's one world, and the whole world is infected with either Delta or Omicron.
Yeah.
So you could argue about where you got it, but I think
Do they
as
though?
this thing
I guess
moves
my
on-
question is, Stuart, do they express that concern? Because we know that the reputation in the tourism industry is so important, and the treatment at detection and even testing positive, these are all things I know that you all have to deal with great care and sensitivity.
Well, that's why it's important that whatever happens, the guest experience has got to it has got to be good. So, I mean, I like to use the old phrase about turning lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
So we know, every hotelier knows that a certain number of their guests are going to come down with COVID.
Okay.
And that means if they do have COVID and they are isolated in their room, you've got to treat them actually better than any guest in your hotel.
Yeah.
So, it's never a good experience for them. But, what a fabulous TripAdvisor review you can get when the tourist writes TripAdvisor and says, I had a great time in Belize. The last day before I left, I tested positive. But man, you should have seen how that staff treated me. The room service, the front desk, the driver who took me to the airport. I would come back again. And that's so very important in our business.
it brings me back to conversations we were having in 2020 about when, as it relates to the industry's response as a whole in terms of isolating tourist visitors from the larger population. And I know you're saying that it's not necessarily that tourists are contracting the virus here, but is there some things in that approach that can work in this time in terms of the way we had it in 2020, where tourists are isolated from the airport to somewhat being in a bubble when they visit and stay in Belize?
Well, at this moment, as Stuart alluded, we've had last weekend 2 cancellations. And if you were to speak to some of those guests that arrived, they were actually sitting inside the airplane for about half an hour before being told that the pilot was not coming because he had tested positive.
Yeah.
So the Omicron is all over. They are realizing that it's not catching it in Belize, but it can be caught at the airport. We've learned over the last 2 years, our employees have learned, we no longer are afraid and having to put a police guard to watch over this guest that he doesn't leave the room. We are taking care of the guests, providing them the meals, the tea that they need. And as Stuart said earlier, the stories that are coming out from Belize, how we took care of the guests, I think is a great marketing opportunity for all of us, because the guests are taken well care, and they're very delighted to hear that in Belize as a country, we have the protocols in place and that we know how to take care of them when they test positive. So over the last 2 years, it has been a great learning experience. And I believe even our staff, when one of them tests positive, we know that, yes, they might not have the resources to isolate at home. Many of the hotels are taking care of them in their hotels or providing them meals and medication during the time that they are home sick with the virus.
Yeah, just switching notes a bit. Just on a positive side, when we look back at 2021 and how the industry responded, how the industry rebounded after nearly flatlining in 2020. I don't think the industry and those stakeholders, small and large, have been commended enough for their response in terms of the call to rebound, the call to get back up and to get the industry moving again. We see it by the numbers coming in terms of the number of tourists coming into Belize, number of visitors, the number of bookings. It's quite commendable, correct?
Yes, at this moment, as I was sharing earlier, the Director of Tourism was sharing yesterday that for December of this year, 70% of 2019 numbers will be seen. And we had in July of this year, the highest number, which was about over 27,000 tourists that overnighted in the country of Belize. If you average the rate in San Pedro, it's about $500 a night. So overall, we do see that tourism has bounced back. We do see as well that prior to the pandemic, we had about 900 hotels that were working as a hotel. Right now, we have a little bit over 700. So there has been a decrease in amount of hotels coming back on the pipeline. What that has done, it has added more tourists for the hotels that are online. So as we alluded earlier, when we have positive cases and these guests can no longer leave, we've seen high occupancy in several of our hotels. So it has been adding more revenue and occupancy to the country of Belize. So as a tourism destination, yes, it's affecting us, but we had new flights added. Alaska Airlines added 8 flights to Belize. And so Copa Airlines just added a brand new flight here in this Saturday that passed 167-seater plane. So we see airlines adding seats to the country of Belize. That is a good sign because the investors are seeing as a country, this is a country that they should be bringing tourists to.
Yeah, and even on the ground, I mean, we see the hair braiders getting back out there after a lull in 2020. We see the tour guides, even in Belize City, as it's a place that I'm a regular here. You see the tour guides in Belize City, they're back up on their feet. It speaks to the resilience of stakeholders and the resilience of the industry, since we're speaking about 2021 and the second year in the pandemic. Mr. Krohn, if you would speak to that, the resilience of those persons within the industry, even the smaller stakeholders, the smaller restaurants, and how they willfully decided to get back up on their feet and move.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's certainly a major story there. You've not seen many places go out of business. The statistics that Ted was referring to, some of the hotels that have not come back, it's a little bit deceiving because a lot of those hotels may have been Airbnb type operations that are technically registered as hotels, but they're really not significant hotels. So the comeback has been good. But I'd like to point out one of the real major stories during the pandemic was the shift of our local residents toward vacationing in Belize. Of course, because the borders were closed for a long time, and particularly the land borders, which are still closed. Belizeans vacationed locally in record numbers, and I would like to congratulate them for patronizing our own tourist properties, and hopefully, now that Belizeans have seen the wonders of our own country, when the borders do open up eventually, they will hesitate to go back to Cancun, Playa, Chetumal, Bacalar, and stay in their country. I would comment, you look at Ted right now, he's staying at a lovely room in Chalk Creek, and will be eternally jealous. But that's a good example right there. There are great attractions right here, and I have yet to encounter a local tourist, and we see a lot of them who are disappointed when they vacation locally. Hopefully that phenomenon will become a regular occurrence.
Absolutely, and people really do want to travel right now. They've been cooped up for almost 2 years. Let's just dive a bit deeper into what I think you noted earlier, that you are starting to see cancellations and postponements of trips. Let's talk about how you prepare to mitigate that, because you clearly don't want to go back to the point where you have most people postponing or even canceling their trips.
Well, go ahead, Ted.
I think one of the things that Stuart alluded to earlier is about the travel insurance. That many of the guests are already coming with travel insurance, but we're speaking about a national travel insurance to come to Belize. So what happens when you have an insurance? The insurance will be covering the cost of your room, the cost of your airfare. So at this moment, we have been working with our guests where we have waived the cancellation fee up to maybe 72 hours. That encourages the tourists to say, if I'm coming to Belize, if I'm booked to come to Belize, and I find out that I have COVID 2 days before I leave, I can still get a refund, or I will be able to change the date that I come. I think that has been very encouraging for our guests to say, I'm not going to lose that investment I have for the time I'm going to be there. And we continue to encourage our hoteliers to continue to practice that, because that gives some type of peace to the guest that they are coming, they want to come, but they don't know if the day before they come, they can test positive. So I think, Marlene, that is a tip that I would give all the hoteliers, to be very flexible in the cancellation policy that they have, and hoping that the guests that are coming are buying their insurance and they are covered in terms that they test positive in the country, or the day that before they come, they are able to pay these because of the insurance that they have.
Yeah, and the name of the game, Marlene, is really virtually every hotelier, you try to avoid the cash refund, because especially as the industry has been battered financially, once you have to give up that kind of a US dollar refund, it hurts badly with your banking situation. So obviously the goal is to convince your client, instead of taking a cash refund, is to postpone their visit. I mean, we had someone, I think, check in just yesterday who had made their original reservation in March of 2020. They postponed it, 3 months to the future. Had to postpone it again. They postponed about 3 or 4 times. Finally, almost 2 years later, they're getting the vacation that they originally wanted to take in 2020. So it's important. And I must say that most of our clients have been very cooperative in this way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to something you made mention of, because a thought comes up. The fact that you alluded to the fact that perhaps these tourists, these visitors, they may have contracted the virus outside of Belize and then tested positive in Belize at some point. we know that there are those out there that heavily criticize the industry, whether it be cruise, airplanes, hotels, just asking, why is it that we're still inviting tourists, we're still inviting visitors into Belize, now knowing that we have the Omicron variant, for example? I think the answer is pretty much straightforward. It's a huge part of GDP in Belize. It's a huge part of the economy, and we need the tourists to enter. But still, the question remains, tourists are coming into Belize with the virus, as you rightfully confirmed. How do you build confidence among Belizeans to support the industry and to push for it, the larger population to stand behind the industry when in fact we know that tourists are coming into Belize and perhaps spreading the virus?
Well, Paul, let's look at recent history. When the whole country was on lockdown, we thought, oh, that's going to stop the virus from entering Belize. But it didn't work, did it? I think we have to recognize that now more than ever, this is a global pandemic. The strategy of trying to wall yourself off from the virus is no longer really believed by anyone. And if you look around the world, every time we think there's a country that we say, oh, Israel got it right, or Sweden got it right, or the UK got it right, or, look at the most powerful country in the world, the United States has the highest rate of infection in the world. So, anyone who tells you they've got a handle on this thing, that they're lying or they're just silly. We're all in this together. I know it sounds trite, but, walling a country off from the rest of the world does not work. Period. End of report. And all of us know this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's perhaps one positive in all of this. I think we have learned from the 2020 lesson where travel bans aren't going to be effective in reducing the number of COVID cases that you see. And you won't have as much control as you'd want, even with people coming into the country. But the question is moving forward for 2022. The numbers, I think, Ted, you were starting to give a bit before. There were periods of last year that we were seeing pre-pandemic levels of tourists in the country. I know the end of the year, there was a little bit of a dip, but definitely doing better. What's the projection moving forward, and how do we keep that strong rebound that we've been seeing so far?
So Marlene, when we look at December, we had 70% of the numbers 2019. I was speaking to the owners here at Track Creek yesterday, and it's amazing that they're full. They're full. They will see a small dip after this coming week, but right back, it goes back to 100%. I actually stayed at Cana the night before, and the same thing. They had one spare bedroom that I stayed, but they are doing extremely good. I think the pent-up demand in the world is what is helping us. I have been interviewing the guests staying here at Track Creek, and they're saying, even with the Omicron or another virus, they will travel. People are tired of being locked up. They're vaccinated. They have their boosters, and they believe that they will do whatever they have to do to get out and refresh and revitalize. I think that's what us as Belizeans have to do. We, the tourism sector, 99% of our employees were the first to get vaccinated in the country. And we continue to encourage our employees to get the booster, keep their distance, use their mask, and use the protocols that we have established over the last 2 years. We believe that we can continue doing business and not get paralyzed because the Omicron is here, with the protocols that we have established the last 2 years. So we do not see here to March, because the tourism is buying within a month. You see that you might have 30, 40%, and suddenly within the month, you end up with 60, 65%. So it's not something that you can see from here to March. We do have the airfare, as I shared earlier, Last week, Saturday, Copa added another flight from Panama to Belize. Now they have 2 flights, one coming on Tuesday and one also coming on Saturday. Alaska Airlines added 8 flights. Frontier added flights to Belize. Canada has added flights to Belize. So we do see the airfare coming into the country, which is necessary to keep the growth. Without the airfare, we do not have tourism. We also hear of the borders opening in February. It has been open for international tourism. We see that tourism coming via land increasing in December, and we hope that that continues to happen going forward January and February into 2022.
Nice. And from your end, Stuart?
Yeah, the rise of Omicron has not dampened the confidence or enthusiasm of most of the industry. Certainly, we might take some COVID-related hits in the very short run, but I think generally the industry is bullish on the future. Like Ted said, more than ever, people who are our market in North America and Europe and South America, they really want to travel. So I think what they call the pent-up demand for travel is a real phenomenon. And I think it will last well into the summer and next year. I think that's one of the effects of the pandemic. It's kind of goes with our marketing slogan now, which is called Grab Life. People more than ever want to grab life, because I think the pandemic has made people realize that, ironically, life is short, and it's no longer the time to say, well, maybe next year I'll go take a vacation. No, they want to take a vacation now because we don't know what the future holds. Right. And that bodes well for us. And I see nothing but good things happening in the future for the tourism industry here, particularly for investors. So I think it's time to expand, it's time to invest, and we will reap those rewards.
Now that's absolutely, I love that optimistic view that you have. And it's good to hear that even with the increase in cases in Omicron, that there still is that enthusiasm for people to come to Belize. Of course, as you noted earlier, one of the concerns is keeping the staff safe and keeping them working and employed. What are your plans as you start to see this new issue where you can have a outbreak within the employees?
One of the things that we are starting to do is the testing within our employee population. Yeah. This morning, we will be doing random testing for 4 individuals. And every day, I believe that's what we are going to have to do to try to detect the virus before it spreads within the population. We have taken measures in the time that our employees go to eat in the cafeteria. Now they have to go and eat separately from different departments. And so we're taking steps towards making sure that our employees, one, do not forget the protocols, and that we can detect the virus before it spreads within our hotel by doing the random testing.
Nice.
Yeah, I forget if it was Dr. Manzanero or Dr. Cuellar who put it best. He said, treat everyone that you deal with as if they had COVID. Right. And that's very important words to follow. I think we all have to admit that a lot of us became lax when the numbers started to go down, didn't mask up, we're shaking hands instead of fist or elbow bumping. I think we got to go back to fist bumping, masking, social distancing, all of the above. But above all, get vaccinated, and as Ted said, get those boosters.
Booster shots.
It's not a magic bullet, but science has shown that it will certainly help.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, I keep hearing you say a few times in this conversation that if someone tests positive, it's about 5 days wait. Recently, the Ministry of Health adjusted the quarantine times for asymptomatic persons, that they can be able to return to work after 10 days if they're asymptomatic. Is that going to be helpful? Would you prefer the CDC guidelines where it's even less if they're asymptomatic?
I prefer the move the CDC made. I think makes a lot more sense. 10 days is just a really long time. But with the increased testing that we have now, I think it's made it a lot easier to diagnose your employees and get them negative and get them back on the workforce.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it's great to hear this uplifting conversation this morning. We've had many sad conversations about tourism. To start off 2022 on such a bright note is really refreshing, and we do wish you the best. Of course, we hope you and the rest of your staff stay safe and that you keep on filling all those beds in your institutions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Thank you very much.
And Ted, I think you just collectively made everybody jealous with that itinerary from Kana to Chaw Creek.
And I'm going to Placencia this evening because I'm doing a tour and actually testing the food in all the resorts. And you should be, I'm amazed at the quality of food. I had a gado gado here at Chaw Creek yesterday, and whenever you come, you got to taste that plate. It's amazing.
Well, I can come and help you test. I can be critical about food.
I was wondering if you need a media representative on his side.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be hearing the very beautiful story about a young boy who was able to get life-saving treatment through World Pediatric Project. That's coming up in a few. Thank you.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Child Development Foundation, or CDF as we are popularly known, has been partnering with Social Security Board since 2015. Social Security Board supports our child protection initiatives. They support us to build capacity for teachers and parents to identify the indicators of abuse. In particular, they support our counseling center so that we can provide trauma-focused counseling therapy to children who have been abused. Social Security has also supported our prevention program, the Rise Girls program, to help us to equip young women who are in primary and secondary school to understand more about adolescent development and also to build good self-esteem and to build safe social networks.
Over the past 6 years, we have established a partnership with the Social Security Board. It has assisted us in addressing some of their social welfare needs and health care needs of our older persons, specifically in Belize City, San Ignacio, and Belmopan. We have had the opportunity to do home visits with our geriatrician and physiotherapists. We distribute meals to them. We also have that opportunity to interact with them, to observe them. There are needs that may be identified. If we can address those, we do so.
Social Security has been one of our biggest donors throughout the years, and the services that they provide to us is basically financial, and it helps with a lot of things here at the center like bills and groceries. The center is a drop-in center for the mentally ill, elderly, homeless, deportees. They come here, they take a shower, they get their breakfast, they get their lunch, and they also do recreational stuff here at the center. They can watch television, they listen to music, they play games, and they just, interact with each other because here it's like a family.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Whether you're at home on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we're back. We're moving into a second conversation for today. We are joined by Milagro Garel, who is from the World Pediatric Project Belize. And we have a mother who is joining us. I see she has a friend there with her as well. We have Alejandra Cobb, who is in Oregon, I think you said? Correct me
No,
if
she's in Ohio.
in Ohio. I knew it was O. Good morning. Alejandra here to tell us all about your son's story.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So let's just start off with you for a bit of background, Milagro. Of course, World Pediatric Project has been working in Belize, you were telling me, for 20 years. And that's a very significant milestone.
Yes, it is. And even though we have been here healing children for 20 years, there's still so many that are waiting for us to be able to, offer the services to them. So we hope that, the Ministry of Health in Belize and our partners, our local partners, will continue to embrace us as we continue this humongous privilege to be able to heal our beautiful children.
Yes. Now, this one story we were going to talk about is, the story of Gilberto. And Gilberto was born with a cleft palate and scoliosis. Alejandra, talk to us a bit about when you started to realize that something was wrong.
Gilberto burned with cleft palate. When he burned with cleft palate, we see the doctor said that they could do him a surgery to repair his cleft palate.
Yeah.
And he was treated when he was 2 years here in Belize, when the American group calmed down, and they find out that my son is allergic of anesthesia. So he was having malignant high temperature reaction. And then the American could not do the surgery because of that. They put him for anesthesia on that day, and they found out that he's allergic of anesthesia. So they decided 2 years more, decided to bring him here in the Cincinnati, Ohio, for do his cleft palate repair.
Yeah. Now that's a really complicated case when your child is allergic to the anesthesia, because that's critical to be able to do the surgery. What was it like for you as a mom? You want to help him to get the surgery done. You want him to be able to return to having some kind of a normal life, but things were delayed.
It was very hard for us as mother because we see his reaction, and first we decided to not operate him, but he was a child having lots of issue of pneumonia or other stuff that is not good for him, because as the pediatrician says, it will be good to have his surgery. He will be fine with that and not having more issue of getting sick every time. So we decided for take this surgery for Gilberto, for help him.
Yeah. And Milagro, talk about how the World Pediatric Project helped to facilitate this.
So together with at the time they were called the group was called Horizons, and now they're partner for Belize, and they're a group that travel to Orange Walk every year, and we became partners. So when Gilberto was referred to us for scoliosis, And his scoliosis was just nothing was ordinary about Gilberto. Everything is extraordinary. That is how this child is. And he has a severe curvature, which was affecting his breathing, his digestive system, very complicated, plus the huge factor that Gilberto is allergic to anesthesia. So this group we partnered with this group, and they approached Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and Gilberto is the first child to be accepted there for us. And everyone has come together, and you see the host mom next to Alejandra, that's where she's staying. And these people have been so very gracious to take in our family that, probably will be staying there for a long time, to ensure that everything is well with Gilberto before he comes back. And this is Gilberto's third trip for this scoliosis surgery in Cincinnati, and he will continue to be going until he's really well. So that's how the partnership derived.
Yeah. Alejandra, introduce your friend to us today. The house, she's your house mom?
Yes, he's my friend and she's a good person.
What's your name, ma'am?
We're staying with her. She is Miss Margarita Khan. Hi.
Hi, good morning. All of Belize is watching now, Margarita. No pressure, right? But just very quickly, just tell us a bit about what it's like from your end. We often talk with very grateful families who have been able to get life-saving treatment for their children. And there's a family on the other end who oftentimes assist, families like yours. Tell us about the experience from your end, Margarita.
It's been really wonderful having them here. Gilberto's, I have one child, a son, and he's adopted like a little brother. Gilberto's like his little brother, and Alejandra's like a sister, and Gilberto is kind of like a second child to me. But always mom knows best. But I'm here to help her in any way, and we just love having them here. They're just wonderful house guests, and just being there for them. We pray together at night, and we just love having them here.
Look at him.
It's wonderful.
So how many surgeries has he gotten for the scoliosis so far?
Yeah, two.
Two.
Okay. Yeah, so what you're trying to do is straighten out his spine.
Well, you can see from pictures the way that he's standing so tall and straight right now, and actually walking without that huge curvature on the back. I wish that we had, sent pictures to show the before and after so that you could compare. But as you can tell right now in that picture with his mom, this has been a truly successful, outcome. And look at him. He's standing so tall and proud. And before that, he was definitely not able to stand like that, to the point where it was affecting his breathing. He was always having pneumonia, as Alejandra said. And look at him now. He's just all standing straight. And oh my gosh, it's really transformative, Marlene.
As we look at Gilberto's case and how encouraging it is, and as we hear about some of the services that the World Pediatric Project Belize offers, I wanted to jump into that a bit as you celebrate your 20-year anniversary in Belize, in terms of what are the services that are offered in these cases, and how can persons in need get on that list to receive this type of assistance?
Okay, so we're really hopeful that a lot of people that get to see and view this segment know that we are located on Sunrise Avenue in Belize City. We have our home office, and our number is public knowledge. It's 223-7300. Our cell is 610-2606. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook as World Pediatric Project Belize. And as I mentioned, what we do is we work together with partners. Carl Huchner is one of our huge partners. Dr. Cecilio Eck is one of our medical director. And we have a system wherever a child is born in the in any Belize hospital, either private or local, and it's realized that a child needs surgery that is not able to be obtained at the local hospital, then those patients are referred to us. Or if the child is already older, and any pediatrician tells them that they need surgery which is not available in Belize, that child is then referred to us. And there's a process, and depending on the priority of the case, the child is either referred to a surgery team that travels to Belize or taken to the US for immediate surgery, depending on what the case is.
Is there a waiting?
That's how it works.
Is there a waiting list at this time, or do you kind of have that list cleared?
Oh yes, we definitely have a long waiting list, and it just depends on priority, the priority of the case, whether it's urgent or it can wait a little bit or not. For example, we have a plastic surgery team returning to Belize next week on the 15th, and we're definitely not going to be able to do all the surgeries that are already on the database. So it's like by priority case. But we are very thankful that we have partners that we share patients with. So we don't work as a competition. We work in partnership and collaboration with other partners that travel to Belize as well. So we ensure that all the patients can get the care that they need, and it's the best quality care that we can offer at no charge to our families.
Yeah. And, you know, I think when you think of babies who are in need of a surgery to save their lives or to improve their quality of life, it's unfortunate because it's not that we do have some services available in Belize, but the more complex the treatment gets, the more they have to be able to offer it they have to get it somewhere else or have specialists come in. On your issue of the mission groups that come in, how has that been going with the pandemic? I mean, can they travel? How hard is it to organize? I can only imagine the amount of regulations you have to go through.
Oh, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're keeping fingers and toes crossed that our counterparts in the States don't get ill, because we are going to be a team of 14 people traveling to Northern Regional Hospital on the next week. And I'm staying put, and so is my staff, because we can't afford to get sick at the moment, because we need to be on the ground for as long as it takes. We work 16, 17, 18-hour days, and we do it all over again for 5 days. So it's pretty incredible. And we must thank the Ministry of Health, the partners in Orange Walk, our volunteers, our donors in Belize that make this all happen, because you can imagine having a pandemic and then we have to organize all the patients when it used to be come one, come all.
Yeah.
We can't do that anymore. So we have like about 80 patients, and we have to schedule all those patients, and everybody has to travel by bus and however they can get to our clinic. And you know, you can imagine a poor patient traveling from Punta Gorda to Orange Walk. I mean, it's extremely difficult, Marlene, but you know, we're not ready to give up and throw in the towel. We take it on as it comes, and we just have to roll with the fluidity of COVID. But it's making it a huge challenge.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And you know, when you said it just now about staying put so that you can be COVID free to be able to get on this mission with the doctors, I think it shows the level of dedication you and your team have in being able to help these children out. Now, Milagro, one of the things you said, which is critical to the work that you do, is that you work on a referral basis. There may be parents at home who are watching who don't have a referral, but perhaps want to be able to see a doctor who can help them decide whether or not they're eligible for assistance. How do they go about doing that?
Well, we try to make it very easy. We try to make it very simple because we understand that the population of people that we serve, not everyone is computer savvy and lots of them don't have devices, but easily anyone can call us and we help them through the process. So we're not very picky. We make it extremely simple. And all they need to do is to call us, and then we share pictures now because we try not to entertain anyone at the office. And then we try to refer them to one of the very many pediatricians that work with us because we are not doctors. So, and we try not to play doctors either. And so we ensure that they understand the process. And our good Dr. Eck has been with us for so many years. At the moment, we're still trying to let him rest. But we have the other pediatricians that work and collaborate with us, and they ensure that we get a diagnosis or that the patients get the information that they need. Friends of Pediatrics is a local partner with us, and they try to help to get the tests available to the families when these cannot be afforded. And of course, the Ministry of Health also helps us to get whatever tests the families need and can't be paid for. And so it's a very simple process by just calling us and we can let them know if they don't have a referral already.
Yeah.
Alejandra, just bringing you back into the conversation a bit, just to ask generally, how do you feel about how your son has progressed over his period of receiving treatment?
I feel very happy having his scoliosis repair. It's very helpful, and he's stretched similarly like he was. If you see pictures before, he was bent, and right now he's straight. It's still amazing how doctors could work with him. He was having difficult times, but praise God, everything come out good.
I would imagine you have to take extra precaution with him as it relates to COVID-19, just because he is vulnerable. How do you navigate that?
How extra precaution like?
Like, you have to ensure that he wears his mask every time. You have to ensure perhaps that he keeps his distance, that persons who may want to visit him and see him, that they're protected as well. So he kind of has to live in this bubble per se, correct?
Yes, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, we do all those things.
Yeah.
And how is Gilbert today? How are his spirits? He's happy?
Yes, he's very happy how he is right now, having this great surgery.
Yeah. You know, it's a lot of, I think what people don't realize is that it's a lot of pain and recovery. And so he must be a really strong boy. What has that been like for you as mom, seeing how he is able to endure all the treatment and still be so positive?
He is a very tough child. It was very hard, but he's very tough, and even the doctors get like admire of him because he was having at first he can't handle the fellow traction, but when it come out the next surgery, it's like not having the first surgery. It was very tough, and his recovery was very fine. Good.
How long have you been in the US now?
We're going from 3 months.
So you haven't returned to Belize in 3 months?
No.
You must miss home.
Yes.
Did you teach Margarita how to make some rice and beans?
Learning.
She's
learning. Yeah. That's the cultural share that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
But so what's next for Gilberto? Tell us.
He's of what you want to know.
What's his next treatment? He has to go back to the doctor soon for follow-up?
Yes, he have to go for follow-up for therapy and some studies, still studies and sleep studies.
Okay.
So he's still here for some appointments, exams, so he needs to do therapy too.
Yes. I could imagine. But you know what? From those pictures, you would never know he had scoliosis. And I'm very sure that with that posture, he's going to get a whole lot of attention.
Yes.
Look at that. All right. Well, we are wishing you all the best, Alejandra, you and Gilberto. And thank you, Margarita, for chiming in this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Milagro, of course, just another great story coming out from World Pediatric Project. Once again, as you said, people can find you in Belize City, but you're also on Facebook, and people can email you as well if they have questions.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this great story.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. And with that, we are going to shift gears.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do push-ups, right? All right, go for it, right? We could have a competition.
We should.
Yeah, I'll find you somebody to compete
we have some.
during
We
the
have
break
some
time.
fit persons in here. So
That's right, that's right. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how to set those fitness goals for 2022. So please, stay tuned.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
I am Glenda Brown, and I lost my husband, Henry Brown Sr., to COVID. He was a pastor, and he loved the Lord. He got saved at age 16, and he did his best to walk with the Lord. When he was admitted, I said, well, it's good. He needed oxygen, and that is going to move up, and then, he's going to be back. But it didn't happen that way. Eventually, he got intubated and sedated, and that was the part when we realized, it is getting real worse. We don't know what is happening. We prayed with him, we spoke encouraging words, but we weren't getting response. We hope he heard, but I don't know. I eventually reached hospital unplanned. I spent an overnight in there Monday. That night, because I was tested positive, the doctor allowed me to go and see Henry. And so it was so good to be able to go to his ward. I get to rub his head. But he was saying he didn't think Henry was going to make it. There were much prayers going out on his behalf. But I knew God's will was what was going to be done. I think for me that did a lot. Even now, to could remember that I was able to, touch him and see him those last moments, just the day before he passed. I just thank God for that opportunity. COVID is terrible once it comes to your home. It's something else because you have to quarantine. It's painful. All of a sudden, the connection within the family break down. When Henry passed, the children came and they came to my room. I have windows on both sides of the house, and so that was how we communicated. We spoke from there. Even the funeral arrangement and all these things had to be done. And I went out there to see the vehicle pass. I didn't know they would stop, but I'm glad they did. And so I made my way to the street side. I had COVID, so I knew I had to keep a certain distance from other people to look at that casket in that vehicle and know that Henry is in there. I watched online. It was so hard. I mean, this is Henry. He's gone. He's not going to be back again. Henry hadn't been vaccinated. He didn't want to be vaccinated. I was told that he said to someone in the hospital while he was there that if he gets out or when he gets out, he was going to get vaccinated. I know it's not the only prevention. Washing your hands, doing the other thing, taking your meds does help. So there's a number of things to do, and I encourage people to do all of them. God does protect us, but we are also not to put God to the test. And so I encourage people to do what needs to be done. There's a lot of things I missed him, just not having him coming home again. It's a journey ahead that I am trusting God to take me through. I know He will.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
And we are back, and we are moving into our final conversation for today. I was trying to get out of it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I was going to leave it to you because I know you're the gym addict, talking about fitness goals for 2022.
Yeah.
We have with us
Albert Garcia from Educo Gym based in Belmopan. And Albert, good morning. Welcome. Happy New Year's. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for the warm welcome, Paul.
Now we're talking fitness goals 2022. We know that at the start of January, this is when we see the highways, the byways, your way, my way. This is high gym season. Yeah. And those who may have put it off since February last year is picking it back up January this year. But there are those who...
Stop trying to cast stones on people who want to get healthy.
But there are also those who may have overdone it a bit in December during the holidays as well and decided, you know what, 2022 is my year to get fit, especially with all the health challenges we're facing as globally. And so, Albert, we're here this morning to talk a bit about setting those goals, those fitness goals. So let's begin. Realistically, how do we begin? How do we approach setting fitness goals for a new year in a way that we can sustain?
The first thing, Paul, I think everyone will have to do is really take some time out. If it's 10, 20, 30 minutes, just take some time out first off and ask yourself, what is it that you want to do to be healthier? That's the first thing. You need to know what you really want. And then figure out exactly why do I want to do this? Because every year, and this has not been from last year or the previous year, every year people set goals come January. Well, you know what? This is a new year. This is the new me. I'm going to do all of this in the new year. And from the data, it shows that about 80% of people fail at their goals.
Wow.
And sometimes it can be because it can be something overwhelming.
Yeah.
And as well, they don't necessarily have a clear plan or a clear view of what they'd like to accomplish. And they don't even know why they want to do it. So the first thing is to really sit down and ask yourself, okay, why do I want to do this? Is it for my health? Is it for aesthetic purposes? Is it that I just want to feel better on a daily basis? So you have to identify that first. That is the ideal and the first step to really know my why. This is why I want to do it. And then it makes it easier to take the other steps from there, which is, okay, I know why I want to do this. Now, what can I do to make this happen? What gym do I need to go to? What do I feel fits my lifestyle choices? Because that comes into it as well. I mean, every health, I'd say health industry or health gyms specifically offer different things. For example, we focus on 20-minute training sessions based on weight resistance, more looking at a holistic approach. If that's not your thing, then you need to look at what is it I want? What is it that I like to do? Because some people like to run, for example. Some people like to do a lot of aerobics. Some people like to ride. They like to spin. So it varies. You look at what is it you want, then how to get there, and then really look at what you can do. It doesn't have to be, you know what, well, it's 2022. I'm going to be at the gym every day from the Saturday, 1 hour every day. No. All right.
Be realistic.
It can be, what's my schedule like? What can I really do? Does 3 times a week work for me? Does 30 minutes 3 times a week work for me? Can I get this done? And then you really commit to that, and you take a step, if it's daily or if it's weekly, to make that happen.
I love that. Firstly, starting with the why, which is, there's a whole book on that, Start With Why, because you always need to have something that's the source of your motivation. For the days when you wake up like today, that you don't want to go to the gym or ride or walk or run, you need that motivation. But I want to hone in on that last point there, because, man, Albert, we've all been there. It's like, I want to change, so I'm going to change everything. I'm going to have a healthy breakfast, healthy lunch, healthy dinner, or maybe a skip dinner, and I'm going to exercise every single day, maybe twice a day on some days. And then we wonder why a week later, we completely abandon the goal. How important is it to start making changes incrementally?
It makes a huge difference because, as you say, you become overwhelmed when this happens. And it doesn't become sustainable because you end up doing this. And like you said, the first week, everything is happening. And we have to be realistic that people will call it life happens, or something happens that, it might knock you out of your routine. And because that routine was unsustainable from the beginning, you find that, guess what? All right, one day becomes, well, I'll just put it off today and tomorrow I'll get back to what I was normally doing. Then the next day and then the next day, because it's something that it's not sustainable. If 30 minutes a day is sustainable for you, then you look at that. And ideally what I do personally is factoring variable changes. Things can happen throughout the day. So you have to look at that. Well, guess what? If this happens, if that happens, then no, I won't allow that to really distract me. And I keep going. Or if it does, guess what? I get back up on the horse tomorrow. But you mentioned something there that people have these goals. And for example, on a day like today, it's like, no, I want to stay in a bed. It's really, and that comes down to not only your why, but from an Educa gym standpoint specifically, I will address this. Educo is a Latin word which means to draw it from within, which ideally is what we're looking at with clients. It's drawing out their best shape or figure from within, and ideally we look at taking it a step further, whereby it's the same process being applied to your entire life. But the challenge comes from, I would say, misalignment, that there is not alignment between your conscious and unconscious. So I will go into a quick bit of psychology. So from data from the research, it shows that your unconscious is 6/7 of your mind, your conscious mind is just 1/7. And what you have, especially beginning 2022, is that consciously people have so many goals. I want to do this, I want to do that. If it's fitness, okay, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life this year. And a lot of the times people have failed in the past. And what you find is that failure can be stuck in these 6/7 of the mind. or your subconscious or your unconscious, whatever you want to call it. And 6/7 is obviously greater than 1/7. So you find that consciously you're making these goals, but because it's not registering on the unconscious part of the mind, it doesn't happen. Because consciously will exert a lot of willpower, a lot of effort, but it will never match up. So ideally, what we do specifically in the gym is looking at how you can get the client in alignment with their goals by helping them create a clear mental blueprint, if you want, or a clear vision of what they want to do. And this is something I'm willing to share with everyone who's listening in. We have created a very nice workbook, a PDF, that helps people along with this. So the same questions you guys are asking me is what I did last night. I sat down, looked at, okay, what are my goals? And as I explained, we look at a holistic approach. So it's looking at goals in all aspects. And this is one thing that people really need to take on board, is that your health and fitness ties into all aspects of your life. It changes everything for you. So it's looking at how I tie this in as a part of my life now. Yep. So this PDF will help you set clear, tangible goals. And it helps you to keep accountable on a daily basis based on whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you said that. You know, there's a willpower that is necessary, and there's discipline, of course. But also, you know, I keep on thinking, and I've seen it before, where people who have made a decision to get healthier in their life, you know, whether it's weight loss or whether it's fat loss, whether it's eating better, they're trying to get healthier. And I will always say, if that's your resolution, go for it. That's a great thing to want to be. But if you've never been an active person and you suddenly take on that journey, there are risks involved. How important is it that you check with your doctor before you try to implement your own eating or workout regime?
I would say it's extremely important. More than checking with the doctor, ideally you could check with the nutritionist who really knows what they're doing. That also becomes important. It's very good for the individual, especially if it's someone who's on the larger side, who may have pre-existing conditions. That becomes very important. Okay, you know, doc, this is what I'm looking at doing. What are your recommendations? And then even if it's possible, you get your doctor and your nutritionist to line up on what is the best path forward for you based on whatever conditions you may have. Because I've seen there tends to be very rigid diets out there, which is definitely not recommended, especially if you're someone with certain conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to touch a bit now, since we're on the health aspect of it all, in terms of going into 2022, we're still in a pandemic. The COVID-19 has an effect on us. What does data show, what does studies show in terms of how fitness boosts our immune system and increases our chances against COVID-19? Because for some, that may be the goal, to get healthier in order to have a greater chance against the virus.
I know this was a while back. I went through these studies, I think probably about 3 months ago. So I don't know what the update has been, but I believe this was information brought about the US, which is, I think, 86 or 89% of people hospitalized with COVID was people who did not exercise, or people who were on the larger side, weren't healthy. So just alone from that data, in terms of just hospitalization, it becomes very important for you to take care of your health. Now, when it comes to COVID, and when it comes to steps to take to be healthier, to really avoid any challenges that can come with it, we like to do things based on a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid, I would like to say, let's look at your life force as the first thing. Now, what is life force? Life force is basically what gives your body this energy, this innate energy for you to function on a day-to-day basis. Someone with a very low life force tends to be more susceptible to various things, be it health, be it mental health as well, because I'm looking at all of this, and mental health plays a massive part in terms of your immune system. Because if you're not mentally well, if you're stressed, if you're worrying, if you're depressed, your entire life force or your energy is depressed, which makes it easier for you to really fall ill. So at the top of it, it's looking at increasing this life force, if you want to put it that way. And that can be done by having a proper diet, eating healthy. And when we say eating healthy, or I would say eat high life force foods, it just means ideally things that you can find in the refrigerator section of a grocery store, things that are likely to spoil because there's not preservatives, there's not a lot of things in there. These things tend to be a lot healthier for you and can increase your health also easily. Apart from that, it's also looking at your diet. When I say diet now, I'm not talking about the food, but also your mental diet, which is something a lot of people need to really get a hold on because on a day-to-day basis, our minds can go all over the place. It goes from here to there to there. And it's a lot of times it's the wrong things. It's not the things that you would like that your mind is running to. So if you can even take control or take better note of what your mental diet is on a day-to-day basis, that makes an even bigger impact in terms of just maybe sitting down, reflecting daily, what good came out of today. And it with this is things that I've done with people before. It's not looking at the grandest thing that it needs to be, oh my God, all of this. No, it's simple things that makes a huge difference. The mere fact that you're alive makes a big difference. I mean, you have another chance tomorrow to better yourself off, to be a better person, to even work towards whatever goals you may have, be it weight loss, be it success, whatever it may be, spending time with the family. But it's you taking mental stock of what's going on mentally every single day. This is something I found that was quite interesting over the holidays, which is maybe if they like, they can get a jar, write out one positive thing every single day and put that in there.
Yeah,
And
I saw that one. And then you read it at the end of the year. I think that's a great idea. But Albert, if I could just ask you, because you have seen this every year, you know, and like I said, I feel that conversations like these must go beyond making fun of people who fall short on resolutions, but instead help them to be successful with them. So tell me some of the things that you have seen through your experience that are game changers or will make a significant difference in the success rate of people trying to get healthier. What are some of the things you definitely see work?
The first one is recognition. It's in recognition for the individual doing it, that they recognize that they have made strides. Because a lot of the times that people quit is that they feel that I'm not doing well enough, I'm not measuring up to where I think I need to be, as opposed to looking at how far they've come.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest challenges I've seen time and time again. That
so
people
it's good to have those starting weight and measurements and fat percentage.
Yes, to be honest, that doesn't even always help. It's for the person to recognize it because we do have that in the gym and people have seen massive drastic changes and they could still tell you, but I still feel like nothing happened.
True.
So even showing them the picture but also having them really take stock, because what I found is the picture makes a massive difference for people when they see what has happened, how they have transformed. Then it becomes easier for them to take that on mentally and say, oh, okay, wow, this is what's happened in that time period. And then also do not beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up if, for example, in 2 months, you haven't lost everything, because that can be another challenge that people face. They've put on the weight over time, and what you find is they want it off immediately.
I've seen that. I've seen people eat good for 1 week and they're like, but I'm not seeing the difference. You have to say, okay, how long have you been not eating healthy? And there's also it takes, usually you feel it first, then your close friends and family see it, and then it takes a while for it to become evident to everybody that you've been getting healthier. Yeah. All right, so definitely recognize progress that you've made. Any other tips for success?
When it comes to it, let's see, of course, when it comes to just tracking, I would talk about is taking time out. When it comes to success of fat loss and everything, it's looking at meal prepping. I know healthy foods here is a challenge. Access to healthy foods is a challenge, or access to a healthy meal at breakfast, lunch, or dinner time is a challenge. So meal prepping becomes very, very important. Having something scheduled out that, you know what, maybe once a week or twice a week, I will prep out my week. This is what it's going to look like. And then you find everything flows. It becomes much easier as opposed to, I mean, as an adult, you get busy with work, with different things that happen. So if you're not prepared, it's just, well, I'm hungry, I need to grab something. And then if you do find a salad, a common challenge is in terms of affordability. It's not everyone that can necessarily afford to purchase the cost of a salad on a daily basis. And this is a common thing that I would discuss with people. They're like, it's expensive to eat healthy. It's not.
It takes planning, though.
Yeah. You just have to prep. You just have to ensure that things are put together, and you'll find that it's far cheaper in every aspect, in the sense of financially, but also health-wise. It's a lot cheaper to your health to eat healthy because you feel a lot better. Yeah. Apart from that, you can be a lot more productive on a day-to-day basis. Of course, there's the additional fat loss that occurs, which helps you to feel even better about yourself. So there's so many benefits to it, but preparation is key, that you are prepared, be it Monday or be it on a Sunday and maybe on a Wednesday. Again, it makes your life so much easier. So that's another key to success. Ensuring that you are prepared. Apart from that, it's you, I would say, not only, I would say discipline, yes, but it's more than discipline. It's you being able to, I would say, review your goals on a daily basis, or on a, let's say, every 2 or 3 days, but really run through what it is that you want. Really go over your why, and that keeps you going continuously. That, guess what, this is what I'm going to do. Or for us, what we'd like people to do is really look at the end result of how you want to look and feel. So for example, if it's you want a J-Lo body or a Beyonce, whatever it may be, keep that at the forefront of your mind on a continuous basis. And again, take pride. Take stock of the success you've made, that this is one step closer, this is one step closer, this is one step closer. So it's not that you're going to go from here to J-Lo in 2-3 weeks. No, but progress.
Maybe with plastic surgery, that's about it. But even so, you wouldn't have the muscle.
Yeah. Well,
but I really, you know, I love that you have been so practical with your tips. And it is one of those things that, yes, you want to get healthy and you have these goals that you set out, and we want to get there quickly, right? But it is important that you do the right planning.
Right.
So Albert, thank you so much for sharing these tips with us. You said that the goal setting is available on your website. You want to give us that website one more time?
You'll find it, well, we have, the EducaGym is a franchise, so there is educagym.com, whereby you could go and actually sign up and get regular emails that creates a massive level of support. Or there's also the EducaGym page. It's not up on our page as yet because we just did this last night. What we typically do is you can go in, just log in and message us or email us, and it's sent off to you.
Nice.
Okay, nice.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Albert, for that. Wonderful tips going into 2022 and setting those fitness goals. With that, we'll take our final break, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up this morning's show.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button, where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
The ministry is collaborating with SpeedNet Communications to have a vaccination campaign for children ages 12 to 17 years. Children who get vaccinated will get a chance to win fabulous prizes, including backpacks with supplies, Nintendo Switch, tablets, book tuitions, and MiFi with 3 months data. Only children 12 to 17 years old can participate in this Smart and Ministry of Health and Wellness raffle. At vaccination sites, each vaccinated child, upon being vaccinated, will receive a ticket to place their name, age, date of birth, BHIS number, and contact information on, which will be filled out by a parent or legal guardian. The sooner a person vaccinates, the more chances he or she will have to win. Get vaccinated, please. Vaccination saves lives.
And we're back. Really great conversations today, starting off with a look at what's happening with the tourism industry. And definitely it's interesting to hear the insights on how the spread of Omicron has started to affect the industry, but they're still so optimistic about the fact that people will keep traveling and that there are ways that they can be able to mitigate the effects.
I think there's a lot of lessons learned in 2020 and 2021 that will that we're going into 2022 with as it relates to the tourism industry. I don't know that there is time to regress in terms of lessons we've learned, in terms of our approach. We believe that we're nearing, hopefully, the end of the pandemic in terms of the lessons learned and our approach to that. And so it's very encouraging to see the tourism industry taking those lessons learned and applying them as we transition into 2022.
That's right. We want to thank Stuart and Ted for joining us this morning to tell us all about things from their perspective and what their members are saying. We also want to thank Milagro and Alejandra for joining us. Milagro, of course, from World Pediatrics Project, and Alejandra is the mom of one of the patients who's receiving care through the project. She's in Ohio. Her son has gotten surgery for severe scoliosis. That's a curved spine. And just seeing the pictures of his update and how happy he is, it's so uplifting.
It's just a great story to see how well Gilberto has progressed. I know of 1 or 2 persons who've also had to undergo treatment for similar condition, and I've heard about that brace that you have to put around your head and how that's actually attached. There's some level of attachment there, and so for a young child to face that and come out of that smiling and standing straight, it's definitely a story for him to tell in the future.
And and I do want to say, congratulations to World Pediatric Project as they celebrate being in country for 20 years. I think they've had so many great stories that they've made families be more at ease in being able to access treatment that they needed for their children. And it's also a great example of collaboration that can take place even between the healthcare sector, the Ministry of Health, and through nonprofits like them. So kudos to them. And if you do have a concern or if you want to seek if you can get a referral to see if you can get your child on one of these programs, then you can find them on Facebook and get in touch. And then to Albert, who grounded us with some realistic tips this morning. So, if you want that J-Lo body, don't expect it overnight. And don't think you're going to get there without eating healthy.
Yeah, definitely. Albert gave us some practical tips that we can use. I know there's a lot of people out there right now planning, preparing first week in January, and they want to change their lifestyle. They want to improve their diets and their health. So starting with the why, as Albert said, start with the why, spend some time, at least 20 minutes, before you begin exercising and working out to figure out why is it you want to do this. So I think that's the first step, and that's a great practical tip for all of us.
All right. Well, That's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Take care.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.